can hear me. And sorry, I just need to get a drink real quick. As everybody's kind of moving around, give everybody a second to kind of get situated. As I spill water all over myself, so you guys are apparently getting a show with the crowd. All right. So, hi, welcome everybody. My name's Feldman. I'm from Nestlé Purina Petcare, and I'm here to talk about how to do an innovative roadmap. To give you a little bit of history and the token introduction, I'm from Nestlé Purina North America. I support our sales and functional roles such as MDO, marketing, and supply chain. So I'm not really in the factory, but I'm working more with the HQ. And I've been leading a project called Project Halliday, which, yes, I did steal that from Ready Player One, for the past 7 years trying to integrate VR. So my unique role is I don't write software, I use the software, but I don't write it, I don't create it, and I don't create the hardware. My role specifically is to find new technology and find a way to incorporate successfully into our company. And to give you a little bit about my background is that I'm an old high school teacher and I hold a master's degree in educational psychology. So it's really about trying to find how are we going to respond, how are we going to react, and how are we going to take in all this new information. So I'm going to go through this. First off, I'm going to apologize. There's 3 pieces of outdated tech that new announcements have come out in the past 3 weeks that I have not been able to update my PowerPoint, so please understand that. As well as I apparently put too many slides in, so if I run out of time for questions, please, I will be available. Ask away anything you want, more you want to know. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. How do you do an innovative roadmap? How do you roadmap to begin with? Where do you begin? Where do you start? So for me, where everything started was years ago, I heard a quote by Carl Sagan, who was a famous astronomer, wrote a great movie and book called Contact, but he said something right when the internet was first deployed. We have more ways to communicate and we've never felt more alone. I thought that was a very profound statement, and that's why XR to me is such a powerful thing, because it's slowly bringing us back together. It's giving us ways to really, truly utilize this communication. So, I hit power, sorry. So we're going to take a look at what are the current enterprise technologies, how we can solve for them, and how to create a successful proof of concept, a POC. You're going to hear me throughout this talk say that more times than you care to realize, because having a proof of concept is your first step. It's great to have a pilot, it's great to get things scaled up, but the thing is that all we're trying to do right now is figure out what works and what doesn't. Proof of concepts allow you to fail, because you're going to get great learning and education from each of your failures. I can sit up here and tell you about all my great successes and stroke my ego all day long, but you'll learn more from my failures than you'll ever learn from my successes. So let's talk about some current trends. What's going on? Today's Enterprise Challenge. The expo hall is unbelievable, showing us a lot of this new technology. You know, and over the past 10 years, a lot of this has really emerged trying to find out different ways. You know, to now where we have smartwatches, we have smart glasses, and we have an AI assistant on each one of these. I mean, so there's power in this. It's how can we use it, and how can we get people to not look at it as gaming, as entertainment? How can we look at it to actually be successful? And for Nestlé Purina, where we really focused in on was XR. We have sales teams all over the country. A lot of them are islands amongst themselves. A car is their office. What can we do to make them feel more connected to not only to our company, but to each other? So, as we start looking at XR, there are 3 things that we need to understand when it comes to XR. There are 3 forms of it. There's augmented reality, which is our cell phone, and I know I'm saying I'm kind of going over, but it's going to serve a purpose. Augmented reality, which is our tablets, smartphones, Pokemon Go, greatest example of AR. Our full headsets, which is Meta, Pico. I'm not leaving off HTC. I'm going to talk about them in a second, but these are some of the big devices that Purina has been looking at. And a lot of it comes down to availability geographically. And then there's mixed reality, which the HoloLens used to be one of the forefronts of it, but now we're getting into Magic Leap and a couple other tools. So for us, up until now, we've been pretty much focused in on the Quest. But here's one of the lessons that we've learned throughout all of our proof of concepts, and this is a conversation I've been listening to a lot of people talk about this week. Which headset should a company pick? This is where I'm going to start first. Best idea wins and role-specific ideas. So when I say this is, first off, you want to find the best headset per role. And it's honestly going to be role-specific. I can see where certain roles can use the Quest. We get into our heavy data roles, then we may want to move to the Vision Pro or move to a different headset. And so as we're looking at these devices, it's the same thing. I heard it on the previous one. Same thing the way we do our cell phones and our computers. Everybody buys the cell phone that they like. Some people are diehard Android, some people are diehard Apple. So when we start getting into the enterprise, we have to remember, don't lock yourself to one piece of hardware. It's good to have a variety because one headset may not fit comfortably on somebody else. So this is where you start, and why I'm getting into this is because anytime you start your roadmap, you have to start with your background knowledge. When you go in and start presenting a proof of concept or a pilot, you're going to get questions. And you want to arm yourself with as much background information as you can to answer. So when they say, well, why are you picking this head over this headset? Easy, the role defines it. And so you start preparing yourself to answer these questions, and then usually after you start explaining this, they're going to say, well, what's next? How long are these devices going to be impactful for? You know, what's the longevity of the device? We'll say, don't worry. There are new devices coming. It's a consistent movement. And this is where you get into what some of the newer devices are that's saying, well, we have the Quest, the Pico now, but HTC is doing some monster things with their accessories. And if you haven't had a chance to try the Focus Vision yet, it's a beautiful machine. So now they become back into the forefront. The Apple Vision Pro, I think everybody's trying to figure out a really good use case for this, in all honesty. And then there's the Spacetop AR laptop, which if you haven't had a chance to see this, there's no monitors. It's a keyboard with glasses that go on your face, and now you have augmented reality. And they're actually going to have some really cool announcements coming up this year, which I'm not going to steal their thunder. So, but this is where you start with your background knowledge, understanding what's available, what's coming, and why. Because when you start your roadmap, these are the questions you have to be prepared for. So why? Why XR? Easy. Anybody remember why we started using text messaging over calling people? Cell phone bills. We had to pay for every minute we were on our phone, unless it was 3 a.m. to 3:15 a.m. every third Sunday. Then we got free long distance. So a lot of us switched to text messaging because we bypassed our cell phone bills. That was the trigger. But the minute we did that and we started going to email and started doing all this remote talk, we eliminated 80% of our communication out the window. All the nonverbal communication went. Think about it. You get an email from your boss or a text message saying, hey, I need to talk to you tonight. What'd I do? Should I get a box? Is there a pink slip coming my way? I mean, give me a warning. No, I just wanted to tell you good job. Well, you know what? That was 4 hours. I was a nervous wreck. Because we have nothing to indicate that. That's why when you emails, you see so many people nowadays putting smiley faces. I'm glad everybody got rid of LOL, but there still are some people using it. But we have to indicate we're joking now through this. It's like we have to tell people exactly what we're feeling. Nonverbal communication does that. So how can we bring it back? And that's where, as we get into these body sensors, eye tracking, everything that XR is doing is giving us that capability. So, some challenges you need to be aware of before you even start your project. And these are some of the big limitations that XR has, and it's important to know it. It's not saying these to say XR is bad, we're never going to use it. These are the challenges that you're typically going to get from IT, from finance, and the pushback you may get. So first is the 3D object challenge. I'm sure everybody's aware that 3D objects are created in polygons, depending on and different types of shapes. The more polygons, the more detail it is. This is why you see so many companies now creating optimization tools, trying to reduce the number of polygons. Because like I said, more polygons equal greater detail, but eat up your memory. I'm sure some people have tried, when you download a game from the Quest store and you're looking at it going, it's 20 gigabytes. The objects, the detail. So finding optimization, finding new tools to be able to render high quality graphics in a lower interface, so that way your entire fleet of workers doesn't need gaming computers to create this. You can create it on any computer. So that's removing some hurdles. But this is a question, how easy is it? Well, here we go. This is why some applications are low quality, some are high. It's just the polygons. The next one is understanding Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I get into this, I'm sure most people have had some exposure to Maslow at some point. Again, I'm an old educator, so I have lived by this for the past 40 years. But we have to think about it. People are going to ask, do I get sick? Will everybody get sick? What's up with the sickness I hear? Will I experience vertigo? Okay, there's many reasons why people experience uncomfortability in the headset. One of the reasons I truly believe is it violates Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The first two needs of Maslow are safety and security. Now, when you put on a headset, your two primary senses are in some virtual world. If you want to call it the metaverse, you want to call it spatial, you want to call it the grid, I don't care what you want to call it. It's the virtual world. When we're there, the rest of our body is telling us, no, you're in a physical location here. That schism in your mind will create uncomfortable feelings, and your body will do whatever it takes to get that headset off. It will start making you feel sick. It will start making you nervous. It's just like when you walk into a group of people and you get that bad vibe. And you're just like, you know what? Maybe this isn't the right place for me. Your mind is getting you out, because somehow those two, safety and security, were violated. That's where VR gets into. But the nice thing is, once you start explaining it to people, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So it is a tolerance builder. Absolutely. You can go in, spend 5 minutes, then you can spend 10, then you can spend 20 as you become more comfortable. And with pass-through, it's even making it better, because one of the things that really triggered the Maslow issue was, you put a headset on, are people looking at me? Are people laughing at me? I must look like an idiot, you know? And we start getting subconscious about it. But pass-through, we can turn that on, and now we can see people looking at us. It at least gives us a little bit greater feeling of comfort. But that's one of the things we have to be prepared for. Now, I lead to these two to talk about one of the most important things. When you really start getting ideas on VR, you're going to hear a lot of the C-suite and a lot of people above say, we want detail, we want high quality, we want realism. Then you run into the uncanny valley. The more real you make something in the digital environment, the greater of a chance you have of sending people into a very bizarre state of mind. It's anytime when you just look at something, you're like, you know what, I know that's real, but it's just, you kind of feel like a dog that heard a weird sound. You know, your head just kind of cocks to the side, you know? That's what it is. And one of the greatest, sorry, I just heard a giggle. But one of the greatest examples was the movie Cats. The play, great, we accepted it. It was humans in makeup, we could live with that. But a lot of people had an issue with the movie because they blended it too much, and it just didn't sit right. It's the same when you see certain avatars and you're like, it just doesn't look good. So I say that to understand realism, high detail is great. But because we have the polygon limitation, we can use the uncanny valley to justify low detail models. So don't think you have to have the best model, because again, the more detail, the more real, the more chance you run into this. Now, the last thing that is important to understand, this is a little bit more about AI, but it is important to understand for your proof of concept. Another educational theory that I truly live by is called Bloom's taxonomy. If you've never heard of it, this is what all of your instructional designers, all your companies use to create your objectives. Describe, repeat, analyze, all those goal objectives lies in this. And it's important to understand that if you just want rote memorization, very low-key knowledge. If you want comprehension, analysis, getting into higher thinking skills, you go higher on the taxonomy. but it's important to understand because this is what's going to set your goals. So when you go and say, I want XR for this reason, play into the higher levels because you're going to get greater results. We don't want people just going into the headset and using it. That's the lowest level. We want people going in, using it, analyzing data, synthesizing responses, and creating solutions. We want those higher thinking skills because that's what's going to see people see value. Anytime we're just asked, here's a great example. I grew up in the 70s, 80s. One of my punishments by my teachers was copying the dictionary. I won't explain why, but the dictionary, great tool. But what is it? It's rote memorization. We have value in it only when we need it. And that's where we need to get away from that. We need value whenever we want it. So, now that we've kind of talked about the background and what you need to prepare yourself for, let's talk about really how do you do a roadmap. Again, the two things I want you to always remember, proof of concept is the greatest thing in the world because it allows you to fail without putting your career at stake because you're experimenting. The other thing is best idea wins. Don't go, when you create your roadmap, you're going to create it, and trust me, always think about the long game. VR is not quick. Think about the long game, but always remember, you may have had a great idea, but a year later somebody mentions, well, why didn't you do this? You know what? Great idea, it's going in. Never be afraid to accept a new idea if it wasn't yours. And I say that because when we start these projects, we get very territorial, and they kind of become our babies. So it's important to understand. Now, the internal ecosystem, I know a lot of people talk about the external ecosystem, finding your different vendors, all of that. But the thing is, you'd be surprised how many people can say no and destroy your project very, very quickly. So you have to really look at your ecosystem to determine what is going to be the best approval. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about, if you do want to learn more though, there is The Power of Immersion, Volume 2 from the Verara Association that myself and Randy Nunes over there helped write. And we actually go into a lot of detail. And we've already talked about one of these, the emerging landscape. What's coming? We need to know this. That is vital for your roadmap because if you think about it, if you designed everything for the first iteration of the Magic Leap and the Magic Leap went up and stopped making it, you're left. So you have to be aware of what's coming and be prepared for it. Like right now, I think we're all excited about AR glasses, so everything that we're doing now is in preparation to move to that. You know, and in all honesty, I'm already like 6 years thinking for holograms. I want the holodeck. I'm not settling with just AR. Now, use cases. What use cases are going to provide the most value? Now, this is where you have to find a nice balance between the steak and sizzle. You want enough that it shows people the power, but also it's got to have purpose. So never just go in with just something silly. You know, like I very seldomly, when I do demos, after they do a factory tour, everybody asks, can I play Star Wars? Can I play this game? Nope, no games are on it. Now, if you want to use it and take it home and put games, fantastic. But that's not our purpose. The workforce. The workforce is probably the most important. Are they ready for this? You may want XR in your company so bad you can taste it, but if they're not ready, it's not going to happen. I can tell you 5 years ago, I went to a factory with headsets and I was laughed out of the room. We don't need them. Now, about 2 months ago, guess who I received a call from? The factories. Now they're ready. And guess what? I've had 5 years of development. I've had 5 years of testing things. I am ready for the factory day one. Always be conscious of where your workforce is. Then you have to, your solutioning. And solutioning is very important. You have to always have a plan A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. Always have a backup plan to your backup plan because I think we can all agree technology is guaranteed to fail at the exact moment we need it. It's inevitable. So have your solutions, be ready for them because the other thing too is when you finally get a chance to present your proof of concept, the last thing you want the people to see is any lack of confidence or in essence, you don't want to see them sweat. You know, and so for me, it's, you know, at the minute somebody says, well, we can't do this. Why not? What's the workaround? There's got to be a solution to this. Like for the longest time, we were told we can't connect headsets to our network. Well, I could have easily just walked away and said, all right, well, we're done with VR. No, it's a mobile device. It runs on Android. Mobile policy exists. And that's how we got it. We found a solution that worked within the system. So never take that first no. Always find your workaround, because that's what's going to allow you to keep excelling at this. Now, you may ruffle feathers from time to time, but you know what? It's good for them. Sorry, the first time you hear things is a lot of times the first time I hear them. Now, the last one is change management. Change management is right now, I think, our last hurdle, in all honesty. How do we get people to look at these devices and actually want to use them, where they're not just maybe a once a week experience or once a month or, when I get time? How can we truly change people's attitudes the way we did with cell phones? Cell phones at first were not a work device. Everybody carried around the beautiful BlackBerry. That was a wonderfully small device, but had a full-size keyboard. But I don't know why I'm talking about that. But all of a sudden, the BlackBerry went under and our Outlook became on our phones, and now we are glued to them. We have it on our smartwatch. If you guys remember when smartwatches came out, not a lot of people wore them. They were it was a little kind of a cute novelty like the netbooks. So how did we change that management? How did we get people to adapt it? And every company is going to have different. For us, how we really start doing is Purina has had a history over 125 years of innovation, whether it's dog food, technology, sales methodology. If we want to stay relevant and we want to keep it, this is the next area we need to go to. So I'm playing now into my company's own philosophy to give my change management a shot. And I will tell you, some people ask, do you start at the top, do you start at the bottom? Which way do you go? Both. No stone unturned. I remember for the first year of my project, I would sit at my cube with a HoloLens, and I sat right down the hallway from the head of sales. So every time he left his office, guess what he saw? Me messing around in a headset. And before long, he's in the headset. Now he's bringing the directors over. They're in the headset. This is exciting. I don't need it, but it's exciting. And then you start from the bottom with getting some real good champions or all of a sudden now leadership is hearing from the workforce, we need this. It's not just my message. And when leadership hears it, they're like, you know what, I already saw it, I'm in. And so you have to go both ways. Now, for us, when we started our roadmap, we started with 3 pillars, and they still apply to this day. Everything we've ever done falls into one of these 3, whether it's virtual collaboration, having meetings in the metaverse, or spatial computing, again, whatever you want to call it. Shelf training, which is our biggest one. Being able to render functional twins of any of our shelves that sit in store in a matter of minutes, without a developer, without any special programming. We have a nice little application that does it, but that's huge for us, especially after the pandemic when we were locked out of stores. And then the last one is getting people to the factory tour. Is getting people a chance to experience our factory in a safe, controlled environment where they can actually pay attention. And I say that because if anybody's like me, I get into a factory, the minute they put like 4 sets of headphones and earplugs in me and I've got all this safety stuff, I'm not even paying attention to what anybody's saying. I'm just, you know what, let me go. I feel like I'm at war. I'm just going to go start walking around. And my ADD does not help in this argument whatsoever. But we wanted a way that was comfortable. And I still remember when our head of HR saw our factory experience, which has been in play for 6 years, he took it off and said, this is the way it's done. And that was all the sign-off I needed. But the factory tour was our first proof of concept out of these 3 pillars. And it's 6 years old. It's now being viewed in all Nestlé sites. I mean, the thing's just everywhere. But without that proof of concept was just to determine whether VR was even going to be successful or not. Now that we've determined it is, all right, what else can we do with it? So that's why I said each one of these started as a proof of concept just to determine. And now they've gone into full live production. Now, how long did this take? You've heard me mention years. You guys are going to love this. Now, these are rough estimates, but yes, the time does take. I'll give you an example. It took me a little over 4 years to get spatial as an approved software in our company. okay? And as I see spatial just kind of going, thank you. No, I mean, it took years. Oh, I got 19 seconds. I'm gonna try to go faster, guys. So, preparation, about 12 months. That's a chance for you to get all your answers. You do not want to, the minute you present this to leadership, you do not want to answer something I don't know. This is to get you a chance to prepare your answers and really well think your process through. And it's about 12 months. As you start doing more, that 12 months diminishes. So just to let you know. I mean, like for me now, I can probably about 3-month prep. I can get my project off the ground. But the first time, it's gonna take time because that's you learning all this background. Then the development. Give yourself at least 12 months. Do not rush anything out the door because 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get one chance to show this off. One. Because you have to remember, a majority of people now in the C-suite are Gen Xers. We don't trust VR because we've been lied to our entire lives that it was ready, and we don't trust it, okay? So you get one shot. And then give yourself about 12 months to deploy because when you deploy, you don't want to throw it at the wall. You want to make sure your team is trained, the people that are using, like I have weekly follow-ups with everybody that has a headset. I'm constantly available because I want them to know they have support and they keep it in their forefront of their mind. So if you're looking, this is about 3 years. Like I told you, it took me 4 for spatial. I'm 7 years deep. I'm still having trouble getting the headsets connected to the networks because of security issues. So you have to take your time, but also these long time spans give you agility. They give you the opportunity that if something in the landscape changes, you can adapt and respond to it very, very quickly. Apple Vision Pro was a great example. All of a sudden, it's a huge disruptor. Orion is going to be a monster disruptor. So now that we know Orion's coming, now in our preparation, our development, our deployment, okay, you know what? That's where I'm going. I'm prepared for that device. And now you have a year to prepare. So like for us, our factory tour, we timed it to just right as our first proof of concept went live, the Quest 1 came out. And we timed it to be with that because that was going to be the power of that example. All right, so I'm going to go real quick. I know I'm over. Just hang with me for a second because I want to show you a sample use case. So this was one of our sample use cases. This, again, the factory tour was our first one. And this one taught me more than I think I would ever care to learn about doing a VR project. It was 5 to 10 minutes. It was, we had it linear and you can pick your different spots. So you can kind of go around it. We did it in 360 full motion video. So it's not high tech at all. We have 360 motion. We have 2D input video that we filmed on our cell phones. We did this very low cost, but we did hire a VR company that at the time they were called Valence. They did the Mount Everest experience in VR years ago that won the Grammy or one of the awards. No, Grammy's music. Anyway, so, but we did because they were the experts and they helped us put it together. So the thing is, you can see, very simplistic. These were my 4 requirements. But they were 4 good, solid requirements. Because one of the things that we realize is we want to keep it simple. Because we don't know what's going to happen next year. Now, and everything that we're doing, and this kind of showing you the shelving. So like the shelving, one of the reasons why we start going that direction is, and as we're really developing this proof of concept, is we're trying to address this issue, the lost mall experience. Growing up, many of you, I'm sure, can remember going to the mall. This is where we showed off our outfits. This is where we found out where the parties were going to be during the weekend. This is where we got to meet with our friends. This is where we got to play in video arcades, which were gaming centers before there was home gaming. But going to the store, going to the mall was an experience. We loved it. And if you don't believe me, next time you're at the store and you buy the last item, notice your behavior. You will tend to carry it right here, or you'll put it in your basket of your cart so everybody sees you have the last item. Or how many times you walk into an aisle and somebody's blocking the whole aisle because they want to make sure they get their selection before you have a chance to get there. Those are shopping behaviors, but they make us happy because we're hands-on with things. So how can we do that with the metaverse? And that's what gets into our examples of spatial shelving. And so I really wanted to kind of show two examples of really the two biggest roadmaps that we've had. Virtual meetings we're still working on. And that comes down to the part of the ecosystem that's emerging technologies. There's a couple really good solutions out there, but a lot of the solutions have had a couple disruptions where they've done different directions, and enterprises kind of got lost in the mix of things. But now it's coming back together. But it's to be able to have examples like this. So I know I went relatively quick. I know I'm 5 minutes over, but I am available if you have any questions. If you want my contact information, please reach out. But the big thing to understand is road mapping is really easy. It's just you have to remember it's going to be a long process, and because it's about a long-term result. So don't panic if you're not moving fast enough, because always remember there's some of us out here that are still plugging away at the exact same thing. So with that, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it, and hope to talk to everybody soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Okay.